So we're listed both on the Toronto Senior Exchange and the BVL, which is Bolsa Valores Lima, the Lima Stock Exchange. About 30% of our shareholders are Peruvians. We have forward-looking statements. Please read this on our website if you're not familiar with this. So why copper? Well, copper is has been one of the most useful metals on the planet for 10,000 years. It's a really good conductor of both electricity and heat, and it's very malleable. So you can see here that it's been important in our homes for a very long time. Having a refrigerator and a car, most people have had those for a long time. Then go for a cell phone and all your wiring and your pipes, and now batteries, motors, and very big in the EV world. So an EV car uses at least 4 times the amount of copper that a regular combustion car uses, or bus or truck or anything like that. And then there's the charging stations. They use a lot. Solar power uses a lot of copper. COVID has changed things, and I think it's fairly interesting that the world cares more about social need than financial stability. I think that's pretty obvious with what's going on in the world right now. And finding copper and finding that it's economic takes a long time, takes a lot of work. We've spent $62 million on this project so far, our main project. So discoveries are hard to make and get mines up and ready to be built. And so that leaves a lot of gap for the supply and demand. And actually copper is also very good for killing the virus. So if you have copper to touch, when you're opening a door or in your bus or whatever, it kills the virus. So it's great for that. I actually have an expression that is gold is money, copper is life. Because without copper, life would be very different. And it's very important to infrastructure as well. So here are some predictions on the deficits. As you can see, a lot of copper needed for the world coming up, 4.7 million metric tons predicted by CRU by 2030, and just a lot of new investment happening in the world needing copper. So I've been in the mining exploration business since '81, and I've spent a lot of that time in copper and gold exploration. Copper's my favorite. We bought our main project for $75,000 from the Peruvian government when copper was trading at 80 cents a pound. And of course now it's $4.40, $4.50. So I'm a huge copper believer, very long term. So getting more into what Candente Copper has for you, has for us. We're in Peru and we have a small project in Canada, both of those very prolific mining countries. And that's really key to when you're trying to make a discovery, is what the country is like for, if it's a mining country, if it's got the laws in place, then also just investors are comfortable investing there. At Cañariaco property, there's 3 targets, Cañariaco Norte, Cañariaco Sur, and Quebrada Verde. We've drilled off as far as a resource on Norte. We've also done economic studies, but we won't be doing any more exploration on Norte. As you can see, measured and indicated, and that becomes proven and probable with feasibility. We've already got 9.3 billion pounds of copper and over 2 million ounces of gold. And then in the inferred category, we've also got additional. And then if you look down at Cañariaco Sur, which we haven't finished drilling off yet, we think we've drilled off about half of it only. And that's another 2 billion pounds of copper and 1 million ounces of gold. So if you add all those together, already on the Cañariaco property, we've got over 14 billion pounds of copper, almost 4 million ounces of gold, and about 90 million ounces of silver, plus some moly. So this is an amazing resource for a junior company to own 100%. We have third-party validation. Fortescue Metals Group out of Australia is a global iron ore leader, but wanting to get into the green revolution, and so needing copper in their portfolio. And they own 19% of our stock. RFC Ambrian and Haywood are the most recent research reports to show us and show our project and how we stack up against all the other copper projects in the world needing to be developed. And I'll show you a little more on that. And then Deutsche Bank and Goldman Sachs also identified us over the last 2 or 3 years as being really key projects for the copper world. very low on the scale for price of copper needed to go into production, and Deutsche Bank sees us as a takeover target. Fortescue Metals, as I said, owns 19.9% of us and wants to go green, so they need projects like ours. They have right now the right of first refusal on any debt, royalty, or streaming, and that finishes around May 21st, so coming up a couple weeks. But they will always maintain, as long as they have 5% of our shares, they always maintain the right to have a director on our board and also to match terms of any equity financing, so stay with their 19.9% interest. Here you can see where we stack here, Cañariaco Norte. So we're among the 10th largest copper projects in the world of being advanced stage, and fifth, we tie fifth for grade. So we really stack up well against the other 23 projects identified by RFC Ambrian. And then Haywood as well. It's not hard to spot us right there. And that's without Cañariaco Sur. So you can see by the amount of copper we have and by the grade, we stack up very well. Deutsche Bank, just their comment about us being one of 3 projects that they see being taken out by larger companies in the near future. And Goldman Sachs, the price of copper we need to go into production, and that's the lowest quartile. So we need less copper than all of these projects, so we should be built before them based on that. We're in a very prolific belt in Peru. The nearest mine to us, Cerro Corona, is 100 kilometers away. It's gold and copper. And then Yanacocha, one of the largest, I think the largest open pit gold mine in the world, over 50 million ounces, and several other projects, well known, well developed, coming online. So we're in a really good neighborhood geologically. Now politically, if you look over to the right there, you'll see that we're in Lambayeque. So the region, that's like a province or a state, a large part of the taxes that get paid by mining go back to the region where the mine is. We're the only mining project in Lambayeque, so we would be the first, our project would be the first time Lambayeque gets those taxes from mining, which is huge for them. In Cajamarca, all these other mines and projects have been paying a lot of taxes many years, so Lambayeque is very envious of that. And it just means, shows you how important we are, and of course the government and the locals recognize that. As far as infrastructure, we'll build line to grid power, and that's mostly hydro, so very green. And then we have already a road 150 kilometers to the coast, and that will be improved. So infrastructure is pretty good. We are sitting, as you can see, in the mountains. Now, you're looking west at the top of the Andes right there where it is flat and dry. I have some other photographs. But basically the copper, Cañariaco Norte is sitting there. No families living in the zone and lots of water. And the topography is actually seems a little altered by that particular slide. But in any case, it was around 3,000 meters pit crest and low strip ratio. So just taking off the tops of the mountains there. And this is the details on the resource. So now using 0.15 cutoff, which seems awfully low, but that's economic at 350 copper, which is our base case. And that gives us over 1 billion pounds of copper in measured and indicated, and then another 400 million inferred. And there you can just add up the amount of copper, gold, and silver. And so we're 100% owned. We've just completed a preliminary economic assessment, and reasons why we have fairly low cost. We don't need a concentrate pipeline. We'll share a port, lots of water at site, relatively soft rock, low strip ratio of 0.66 to 1, and that's very low because 1 to 1 is considered very good in mining, and power supply from national power grid. Now you can see this is the results from the PEA, and this all pertains to Cañariaco Norte, not our other projects. They're not counted in this yet. So average metal recoveries are very good, 88% for copper, 65% for gold, and 57% for silver. That could be improved with further studies, and we'll be launching into feasibility very soon. We have a capex of $1 billion and an NPV of $1 billion at $3.50 copper, and copper right now is $4.40. So those are very healthy numbers to have, and that's with annual production for 28 years, 173 million pounds of copper and some significant gold and silver. So not a small project, but to have a capex of $1 billion for such a project is really good. It could be built much bigger to start, and then it would be closer to $2 billion. But we wanted to, in our PEA, find out a lot of things. But one was what's the lowest capex we could have, and then ramp up later from cash flow. And so we're really very, very pleased that Ausenco was able to give us this. And then the sensitivities. So base case 350 is the $1 billion I mentioned for NPV. But using today's copper prices, we're moving towards 1.8 billion. And then payback right now, we've used, as I say, the 350. So we're assuming we run at 40,000 tons per day for the first 6 years, and then ramp up once we have payback. But that could happen a lot sooner if copper prices stay, and we certainly expect them to with all the demand. With this preliminary economic assessment, which is called a PEA, we really looked at improving the ESG practices. So the biggest thing we wanted was not wet tailings, because they're the ones that are less stable and tend to contaminate the environment. And we've been able to end up with a commingled co-placement facility. So dry tailings, and I mentioned starting at 40,000 tons per day and then ramping up to 80 using mine cash flow. And then con grade. We have some arsenic, and initially we looked at using a roaster, and it was certainly viable and permittable, but now we don't need it because we've done further testing with Ausenco and discovered that geometallurgical modeling shows a different level of arsenic in every rock type, and also it reports to the con differently. And so we can do in-pit blending and have a very low arsenic content and very saleable, very marketable. And this is the single waste management facility I mentioned. So dry stack, very stable, not using any major river valleys, and 28-year mine life, but with potential for expanding with the other resources that we would be developing further. So here you're looking at Cañariaco Norte here at the northern end. That's where we have all our economic numbers so far. Cañariaco Sur, we only have 15 drill holes. Same geochem. It's got gold and copper and moly in the soils and in the creek beds, and then 15 holes in Cañariaco Sur, so an initial resource. Quebrada Verde, not yet, no drill holes yet. Infrastructure-wise, we're going to have a crusher down here, and then a conveyor system up, and the plant up here, and then the commingled tailings up here where it's very flat and dry. And then Cañariaco Sur, we've drilled our 15 holes here. You can see where it's flatter and drier here. And we're standing on Norte there, so looking south. Initial inferred resource at Cañariaco Sur, again, using the 0.1 cutoff, gives us the 2 billion pounds of copper and 1 million ounces of gold. I mentioned already that the Peruvian government, and this was in the time of Humala, who was the last president of Peru to suggest things like nationalizing mines and higher taxes, but changed his mind pretty fast when he realized how important mining is to the economic engine of Peru. Castillo is in right now, and he also had some threats, but the revenues have come up so much from the taxes in the last couple of years because they are profit-based. They have a base tax, and then they have royalties based on profit. So I don't see them making too many changes in the near future. We're the only exploration project to receive this kind of funding and attention from the Peruvian government. As you can see, they've committed $23 million, that's over 75 million soles, in infrastructure projects for the locals, and we're the liaison person in there. So we had to hire the engineers to get the projects approved. The locals know that it's because we're there. They're getting all this attention. Electrification was the first thing. Solar powered as well. Solar powered lights for their better kitchens, and now irrigation canals, better roads, better schools, better education, and it's all coming along. There's when I first got into the area over 10 years ago, most of the locals weren't even managing, their children weren't even managing to get through high school. Now there's over 150 of them that are in university or completing university, and our community relations team is full of those people. And they're mining engineers, environmental engineers, sociologists, everything. So it's really nice to see an area developing. We also have earlier stage project in northern BC, so we can have something in Canada, be diversified, and also I love copper so much and I'm an explorationist, so if there's a good opportunity like this one comes our way, we'll certainly take advantage of it, and it's inexpensive for us to be holding it and exploring it. But it's a very prolific area in British Columbia where there's lots of other mines, very well known. So why invest in us? Well, we've got copper assets in very mining-friendly countries, third-party validation, over 30 years of expertise in discoveries. Upcoming is feasibility and EIA, the final, then it's called an EI, environmental social impact assessment, detailed. So we've done many of these studies already for all our drilling permits, but this will be the final one. Then drilling for resource expansion at Cañariaco Sur and exploration and in Quebrada Verde, and earlier stage assets that we also have in Peru and Canada. Very seasoned people on our board who have sold companies, developed mines, built mines, very well known in our business, helping me. I'm a geologist, Sean's engineer, and Julio very strong in the financial and capital markets. And then two of our directors are Peruvian in the financial world also. And Miguel Anchostegui was Minister of Mines, Vice Minister of Mines, but what I like the best is he was with Goldfields at Cerro Corona and made sure they had very, very little downtime when he was there while they were operating. So he was in charge of community and government relations. And then George and Christine as representative for Fortescue. You can see here with shares outstanding, 270 million, 290 million fully diluted. Of that, Fortescue owns 19.9%. Institutions and high net worth individuals own about 8.6%, and management owns 8.3%. And I think that's it. Yeah. So we love copper, and we think you should love copper too. Thanks.
Yeah. So with regards to the EIA, is that associated with the Peruvian operation? And then how long does it take to get regulatory approval?
The EIA for an operation is called detailed, the ESIA, detailed. That will be embarking soon. The regulatory authority for that is SENACE, and the way they do it now is we engage with them at the very beginning of it. So we don't do a year and a half worth of work and then hand it to them and then they spend another year looking at it. So it does take longer, and I've been told about a year and a half if we include permitting with it. And that would be about 20 of the permits we need. So we've already had our first exploratory meeting with SENACE, but when we kick off, then it's about a year and a half, and they just work hand in hand, do everything together. Yeah.
I have a question. I thought it was interesting you mentioned Deutsche Bank called out Candente as one of their most favorable potential take-up targets.
Correct. Yes. With Sol Gold and
right.
Jose Maria.
So my adjacent question is, who covers Candente?
The only coverage we have are those research reports that Haywood and RFC Ambrian, Deutsche Bank, and Goldman Sachs. We don't have anybody currently giving us a price target.
And so why? They obviously have their eye on you. What is keeping them from covering the company?
It's a very good question. We had a lot of coverage in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and when the new copper bull market or commodities has come back, they're just not active yet. I don't know why not.
But they have their own.
Yeah.
That was a good comment. So, any other questions?
You talked about this project. Part of the action strategy might either be sale and asset sale of that particular asset.
Right. So the question is, are we looking for a corporate sale or an asset sale, or put it in production ourselves? So we'll do whatever we can, keep de-risking, keep adding value, and whatever's best for the shareholders. Having said that, one of the reasons we wanted to see if we could get a capex that was closer to $1 billion is because we've been told that Peruvian pension funds would have put up about half of that. And we have had some various meetings with them. So maybe not today because of what's going on with their current president, but within the time we're ready for going into production. They were a big part of Mina Justa. So we would still need another partner in there. I don't think we'd be doing $500 million ourselves. But, that opens the doors for medium-sized companies to come and join with us. That's one alternate. The other is to sell the whole company if the price is right, or sell the asset and maybe take a partner earlier on that would build it and leave us with a good chunk. So those doors or avenues are all being considered and open, and it really depends on the offers. Main thing is to de-risk it and show that the optionality, because I've shown you today the new PEA start at 40,000 tons per day, go up to 80,000 tons per day through cash flow. But somebody could also build this very large and handle the bigger capex. So a lot of optionality here. 19.9. That's a key number for ownership of companies based in Canada on the stock exchange. Yeah, and publicly, right.
And what's part of my ignorance? What is Fortescue's exposure to Peru?
They have a lot of exploration claims, but we're the only asset that they have where they don't have the asset. They have 90% of the company, and some people do get that confused. But I think we're the most developed project that they have a piece of the company for. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Joanne.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.